Yo, get in, chop.
I'm a bit self-aware, sometimes it's fucked up, but life is gonna lie, so I ain't gonna slow up. I'm on a mission to change the face of mental health, kicking knowledge to my people, cause you know that health is wealth. It's your lucky day, cause you tuned into the greatest. Out here striving to survive, sometimes we fake it till we make it. If your mental health is slipping, then please don't touch that dial, go and grab. Yo, what's up, you guys? It's your girl, Treaty LPC, and thank you for tuning into this week's episode of the Self-Aware and Effed Up podcast. So, y'all, we are getting closer and closer to the end of the season, and I've been having so much fun this season, just talking with people from my childhood, talking with experts, and talking with just all around great individuals. And today's individual, he is so amazing. I had the honor of working with him on a project that he and my big brother or little brother, Ken, were working on a couple of years ago, mentoring young boys. And so I had the opportunity to speak with him then, and I look forward to talking to him today and getting to know a little bit more about who he is as a person. His name is Red. He is an author as well as a poet. And of course, he's a mentor and speaker. He is the author of Lost Boys to Men, which is a book of his poetry. And then he also recently created some short stories around that called Dear Pain, Sincerely Me. I had the opportunity to read a little snippet, and we're going to dive in and talk a little bit more about his journey, but we're really just going to get to the core of who he is. So without further ado, please welcome to the Self-Aware and Effed Up podcast, Red. Hey, Red, how's it going, man?
What's happening? Everything's going good. Everything's going good. I appreciate you for blessing me with this opportunity. It's definitely an honor. I love what you're doing with your podcast. So I just want to give you your flowers.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you. I love what you are doing and what you have done. And I'm really just curious to get to know you a little bit better because your story is inspiring. Just from the snippet that I read, I can tell you've been through a lot. So we can just go ahead and dive in and have you tell the audience a little bit about yourself. Who are you?
Yeah, so who I am, Marquis Red Jackson, born right here in Decatur, Georgia. Born and raised in Decatur, Georgia. I live many other places, but Decatur is always my heart. I've been married now, coming up on 19 years. Me and my wife been together since we were like 18 years old. So we've been together for 21 years, been married at 19. We got 4 beautiful kids. One in college, one about to start college. Other 2 in grade school. Wife is an educator. So, we got a full load, but it's a house. Our house is a home, peace. And I really appreciate that. But a little bit more about my background. I grew up, I had some traumatic situations growing up. I know this is a podcast of transparency. So I'm not going to shy away from that because I'm very transparent, even in my books. So when I was younger, my mom, she was addicted to drugs, and I was staying with her. My sisters, they was with their families. So it was just me and my mom at one point. And that kind of caused me to grow up real fast. Like I was like 12, 13, 14 years old when it was happening, between 12 and 14. And I saw a lot that I didn't have to see. I did a lot that I shouldn't have done. And one thing that always fell back on me was poetry. When I started writing poetry when I was 17 years old, and it was a form of therapy for me. I never got a chance to sit on one's couch and have a traditional therapy session. I was very uncomfortable with it. And, the moment of transparency, I'm still uncomfortable. I got a therapist now, but I'm still uncomfortable just because I'm used to dealing with stuff how I've been dealing with it, which is writing. Hence why I wrote the poetry book. So I wrote that book 17. I started writing at 17. I finished writing it at 37. So it's 20 years of poetry in that book. And I was thankful that I was able to keep up with every last poem for the last 20 years, right? So once I did that, about 10 years ago, I said, you know what? I want to write a book out of these poems. And that was 10 years ago, and it still took another 10 years for me to finally finish it to the point where I came up with 52 poems, and I told my story in I call it a poetic autobiography. So that's what led to that. But also, with my creativity, I said, I want to keep doing this. I want to keep writing books. But I wanted to write Dear Pain, Sincerely Me, because I dealt with a lot of pain growing up in that particular situation. And so Dear Pain, Sincerely Me, it's journal stories of trauma, transparency, and triumph. And that kind of goes hand in hand with the poetic book, which is Lost Boys to Man, poetic stories of transparent and triumph and trauma, transparency, and triumph. So how I did it was I did a spinoff. So my book has 52 poems in it. The first book, Lost Boys to Man. My second book is a fictional short story book. So it has 52 short stories, but all of them have their own base character that's created. They're all the city that they all live in is called Eastland, Georgia. You know, coming from the east side, so I created that city called Eastland, Georgia.
Okay, East Atlanta.
Yeah. So I did that, and that was another form of therapy for me, just writing. I remember one of my friends told me I was kind of discouraged. My grandmother had died recently, probably about 8-9 months ago, and I was in the middle of writing Dear Pain, Sincerely Me. And I kind of came to a brain fog, writer's block, whatever you want to call it. And my friend said, "Hey, man, how you been writing?" I said, "Nah, I really ain't had the words, man." He said, "Look, man, you got to fall back on your pen." And I will never forget that term, fall back on your pen, because that's when I actually picked it back up and I started writing the rest of this book, Dear Pain, Sincerely Me. And it was therapy. So that's what I'm accustomed to. If I got issues going on, I've always just started writing about it, whether it be poems and essays and stories. So that's how we get started with the whole brand, Red Inspires brand. My goal is to pretty much, my first goal with Dear Pain, Lost Boys to Men, was to pretty much use my therapy and stories as someone else's therapy. And maybe going through my situation or similar or not. So everybody goes through problems, right? Dear Pain, Sincerely Me is more of a conversational piece. I want to be able to put forth efforts to start breaking generational traumas. So as you read my stories, I have before you read questions that you can think about. I also have after you read reflection questions that you can have with yourself and or groups. And even for the lady who loves us as Black men who carry a lot of load in this world. So my goal is to pretty much just provide a book that can really open up a person's mind and heart and the people who love us so we can understand each other better and break some of those generational traumas that's passed on throughout generations.
Yeah. Gotcha. And you did a great job with it. I'll just let you know, like from the parts that I read, the part that you sent me, I'm going to throw a lot of that back at you today, just because I want to dig a little bit deeper. I know you said you don't like to, you're uncomfortable sitting with, therapy, but obviously, I am a therapist, so I'm not going to do therapy with you, but I do want to kind of put some things back on you that you ask us as the readers. So I want to know, just kind of going back to your poem and in your life, what does being a product of something mean to you? Because you talk a lot about that in the poetry piece of it, but what does that actually mean to you? What do you feel like you are a product of?
I mean, I feel like I was a product of trauma in itself. Not necessarily a literal environment. More so of the situations that was in the environment. So like, in the poem I talked about, I kept emphasizing product of my environment after every line. And I was just talking about some of the stuff I experienced, growing up in that environment, but it didn't break me. You know what I'm saying? Because at the end of it, I said, I'm a proud father now and a husband. And it was all worthwhile to be a product of my environment. My life shaped me to who I am today. I'm a great man, I'm a great father, great husband, I'm a great mentor, I'm a great brother, I'm a great leader. If I would have never went through all of that traumatic times, it wouldn't have built me to who I am today because I didn't let it break me. You know what I'm saying? It molded me to who I am now. So to be a product of my environment, it's nothing negative. I don't look at it in a negative way. If I would have stayed in it and let it swallow me up, yeah, it would be a different story. But I learned from everything I went through, and I appreciate life so much more because of what I went through. I have a lot of gratitude toward life now.
Gotcha. Yeah. Yeah. I think we all kind of look at that a little bit differently in terms of being a product of our environment. Cause like we have similar stories. As you were sharing earlier, I was like, dang, we have a lot in common. As far as trauma, as far as having mothers who dealt with things, addiction and things of that nature, and like that life and what you go through in those moments and what it's like kind of trying to figure out how do I break the cycle? How do I get out of this space and go into something new? And poetry was also my thing. I got a lot of poems. I've been trying to put a book together for years of all of my poetry. I got it in a Canva file, but that's a whole nother story. But I think storytelling and being able to share is a part of what heals us. Like that's how we go from being tested to actually having a testimony. And so I want to know a little bit more about your testimony. You went through, you were a product environment, man, you flipped that thing. How did you flip it? What work did you put in to transform into a lost boy to the grown man that you are, the thriving man that you are today?
Oh, that's a great question. That's a great question. It was more so situations. By the time I turned 17, I had my first child, my son. Me and his mother didn't work out, but we kept a good relationship for the sake of him. But right after that, I got arrested. I got arrested, and I got 3 felonies. They're all pretty violent. Aggravated assault, possession of a firearm, attempted armed robbery. It was a humbug, but that's what I was dealing with. So that was a wake up call, because I went to court for like a year, and my attorney was like, "Hey man, you facing like 30 years."
Wow.
30 years. I'm like, man, I'm 17. What you mean? I'm 30 years. You know what I'm saying? I was like, well, look, what's the next option? He said, well, don't go to trial. And my mom was like, go to trial. You didn't do none of that stuff. And my father was like, no, don't do it. They're gonna railroad. You know what I'm saying? And the situation was clear that I didn't need to go to trial. I didn't even want to go to trial, because I knew me. It was a simple fist fight in the neighborhood. But because of the situation that was going on, they charged me with all those other stuff. One fist fight, I had a ski mask rolled up on my head. You know how sometimes you be in the neighborhood, you might roll a ski mask up like a toboggan. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, gotcha.
And I did have a gun on me, and we did get in a fight. Simple fight, right? But because I had the ski mask, they was going to use that against me to go along with the gun they found for the armed robbery and possession of a firearm. And because I fought him, would have had a gun on me, that would have been aggravated assault. So you see, from my mom's point of view, you didn't do nothing but get in the fight. But from my point of view, I'm like, yeah, I got in a fight, but they found a weapon on me. They found a ski mask. It's my word versus theirs. I'm going to get railroad. I'm not going. You know what I'm saying? So I took the plea deal. And one thing that really frustrated me down the line was I didn't know too much about the court system at the time. And my lawyer was like, hey, don't do the first offenders right. I was like, why not? He said, well, because they're giving you 10 years probation. You're 18 now. So what's the chances you getting back in trouble between 18 and 28? I was like, man, it's a long time and I get no trouble. Because, when you get in trouble with a first offender, you're liable to have to go back to trial, and probably face those 30 years.
Oh, wow.
So I was like, man, all right, let me change some things up. So I took the 10 years probation. They gave me 500 hours community service. And they said, you got to get your GED within a year. I agreed to all of it. I said, I got you. I'm going to do community service. I'm going to get my GED. I just need to be here for my son at this point, because I can't leave him for 30 years. Right. I can't let the world raise him. You know what I mean? So that was very pivotal. And then around that same time, a little bit after that, I met my wife, girlfriend at the time. She was in college. We met, and we really rocked it out, man, because she just had so much potential that I like to see. And she really motivated me by what she was doing. She motivated me to get my crap together, so to speak. And I did, because about a year later, she was pregnant with our first daughter. And all of that seeped down, like, I can't be in the streets playing around. I can't be doing none of that other stuff, because I got somebody to live for now.
Right.
At first, it was just me. Dealing with the depression by myself, the suicidal thoughts, the having bipolar, it's just ups and downs. I'm like, but I got to straighten all this out for my family, because I got to be there for them. I can't let nobody raise them except me. I can't let nobody love my wife except me. Right. You know what I mean? So those situations were pretty much my pivotal point. Those are what I always tell people. My families are my why. They're my why I do what I do now. They're my why I don't do what I used to do. They're my reason why I can look back and appreciate even the hardest times, because it built me to who I am today for them, which I didn't know it at the time, because I didn't have a family when I was trying to break out of the cycle. But now I have a family, and that's what I stand on. That's why I do what I do for them and for myself and my own peace of mind. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. You definitely have quite a story when it comes to like getting caught up in that. And that's not uncommon for a lot of Black men around your age and older, honestly, just in today's world. Like there's just a lot of that. But you broke the cycle. Like you were able to kind of change things within your family. So I'm curious to know, like, what generational curses do you feel like you have broken? And are there still some that you're working on breaking free of when it comes to like the environment you were born in and the life that you're building with your family?
Yeah, that's a great question. So some generational curses that I feel like I have broken. Me and my wife been together for so long. No, I don't know nobody in my family outside of my grandparents who passed away. But they was together since they were like 80s. You know what I'm saying? And I always, not always, but I did see them still have arguments and have disagreements even at 80 years old. So they kind of gave me a reality of what to expect with marriage. You know what I'm saying? So I kind of moved into it that way. So I think about being my wife being together for so long, and so many people counted us out because we got married at 20. They're like, y'all too young, man. Y'all ain't gonna make it through that. Well, here we are 20 years later. You know what I'm saying? We still here. So I think that in itself was a generational curse that I broke by being able to stay with a woman for so long that I dearly love, have a great family. I made sure some more traumas that I dealt with that I broke was I used to change schools like every year, probably every 2 years, and that was traumatic for me. You know, and I still get uneasy when I come around new crowds. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm so accustomed to making friends for a year or two. Then I'm going to a whole nother school. And I got to do the whole process again. Right. That can be overwhelming for a child, but that's still something that I deal with now. You know, because even in the speaking space, the mentor space, being an author, like, I got to be around crowds of people that I don't know, and it's very, very uncomfortable. You know what I'm saying? So that's one thing I'm still working on as far as trying to break that curse of mine. But other than that, man, you know, just being able to have a nice house, a nice neighborhood, good neighbors. No, I wasn't raised on that. You know what I'm saying? I was raised in the hood most of my life. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. When I stayed with my other grandma in Decatur, you know, it was a nice neighborhood, but it was still in the hood, like a whole bunch of hood activity going on. You know what I'm saying? Okay. For my kids not to have to experience that and still be able to learn and benefit from my experience of it, I think that's a great asset I can provide for my family.
Yeah, gotcha. They definitely need stability. It sounds like you had a lot of movement. Why did you have to move so much or change schools so much when you were younger?
My mom just moved a lot. You know what I'm saying? She carried me and my sisters everywhere, man. I've lived in Decatur, Atlanta, Gwinnett. What is the other city? It's Tucker. It was just a lot of moving and shaking with me and my sisters, like especially me and my older sister. We moved a lot, and that, like I said, that bothered me. It bothered me to this day. Like, I hate moving. Like, even if we change the congregation, I'm like, I want to stay where I'm at, type deal. You know what I'm saying?
Gotcha. Yeah. Yeah, that can be like, I've seen that happen a lot with kids that grew up in the system. And it sounds like your mom just had to move around a lot for whatever reason, you know, things that she was dealing with. And that could definitely impact you mentally and create things like social anxiety because you're constantly having to get back in the cycle. So I definitely get that. But you mentioned earlier that you kind of have dealt with things like depression and bipolar disorder. How did you kind of recognize that you were dealing with some of those things? And did you ever get treatment to deal with some of those things that came up with that?
Yeah, absolutely. I realized I was dealing with some type of depression. I was maybe about 14, because my mom, I speak about this in one of my poems and one of the stories that's inspired by it. But my mom, she decided she wanted to get clean. You know, she wanted to clean herself up. And I was happy. Okay, cool. I'll get my mama back. You know what I mean? Yeah. But she had to go way up to Philadelphia. You know what I'm saying? For the rehab center. Gotcha. And I felt like I was getting abandoned again. I felt abandoned while I was staying with her because she just wasn't mentally present. She was sick. You know what I mean? But when she physically left, I was like, crap, you got to go way up there to get rehab, you know? All these places around here. But she went way to Philly, man, and she got clean, thankfully. But it left me very wounded. You know what I mean? I remember telling her one time, and she's like, well, I'm clean now, and y'all should get yourself, better too. I said, Mama, look, you sat on them couches. You had your therapy. I ain't had no therapy. I don't know how to coexist like this. All I know how to do is act out because I'm not sure how to express these emotions to nobody. I never really, I had friends and still got friends to this day that I grew up with, but I never really had the confidence to talk to my friends about my situation. They just thought I was good because I come outside and play with them and everything, but they didn't know what was going on when I came home and closed the doors. You see what I'm saying? So that's where a lot of the depression hit in. And I can remember vividly, I remember I was like 15 at the time, and it was time to go back to school, right? But I knew I had already dropped out of school the year before, the semester before that. My grandma, I was saying my grandma at the time, she didn't know. So every morning, the reason why she didn't know because I'm supposed to leave before she leaves. So I get like I'm leaving the house, and I go hide for a minute around the house till she leave. Then I come back in the house, and I'm just not going to school because school was the last thing on my mind. I'm going through too much right now mentally.
Right.
Dealing with stuff with my mom. I ain't still no school. You know what I'm saying? And I remember it set in so bad because I had told my grandma that I had great grades and everything. This is back when they sent the grades in the mail. It kind of looked like typewriter stuff. But it's easy to fake those grades. So I just got me a lightly shaded pen and turned all those 40s to 90s, turned all those 30s to 80s. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, hey, grandma. Yeah, I had a good system. I was like, look, grandma, look at these grades. But all I really want to do is for somebody to be proud of me again. You know what I'm saying? Because I didn't get that feel when I was with my mom. You know what I'm saying? When she was sick. And she was proud, super proud. But the reality kicked in when it was time to go back to school for that next day. And I knew I didn't know I ain't passed. I know I got kept back. So my grandma's friend was in the house. She was standing there for a while. And this was a cry out for help on my end. I walked past her. She said, Marquis, what you doing? You supposed to be in class. You supposed to be in school. I ain't say nothing. Just walked right past me to the kitchen, got a big old knife, walked right past her again so she could see the knife. She said, what you doing with that? Went back in my room, closed the door. That was my cry out for help. I didn't want to kill myself, but I wanted some type of emotional feel from somebody because it was a void. It's been a void for years at this point. You know what I mean? So, they took me to my grandma. They talked me down, and they ended up taking me to a doctor. And, he ended up, what is it? Not prescribed, but he said I had depression. You know what I'm saying? And I felt like I did. It was a lot for me to go through. You know what I'm saying? And then I said maybe a couple years later, that's when I found out I had bipolar disorder. And the only reason I found that out was because when I got sick, before I knew what I had going on, I was just not acting myself. You know, as a therapist, you probably know exactly what I'm talking about as far as the personality shift from somebody who's really sick with bipolar and somebody who's not. So I didn't know what was going on with me. I was just doing all kind of stuff. My parent, my father, and my grandma, they're like, what's going on, man? Something's not right. Something's not right. So, they took me to the hospital, and I was hospitalized for like 2 weeks at Grady. And that's when they determined, okay, you have bipolar disorder. So right after that, I didn't want to take the medication. I'm not taking no meds for this stuff. I'm fine. You know what I'm saying? So they let me out of the hospital, with the pretense that I was going to actually take my meds. I stopped taking them because the meds was making me sick anyway. They just put some meds on me and it didn't work out. I ain't like how it made me feel. And then that's when the manic side of it kicked back up to the point to where, they tried to call the ambulance on me again. I'm like, nah, I'm not going back to Grady. Never going back there on that 13th floor. Never. You know what I'm saying? So I was right past them. And I didn't know this, but the ambulance had called the police to kind of just keep me, just constrain me for a minute. Well, I'm walking up the street and I see a cop car pull up on Bankhead. I'm like, what y'all want? They're like, well, you come with us. I said, well, I ain't doing nothing. I ain't going with y'all. I'm about to go to the bus stop. So I kept walking. They hopped out the car, two of them. One of them grabbed me, slammed me on the back of the car. At this point, it's fight or flight. So I'm fighting the police. They fighting me. And then another car pop up. It's two more come out. We fighting, all of us fighting. To the point, I just know I'm outnumbered at this point. So I just laid on the ground, put my hand behind my head, and said, hey, y'all, lock me up. Y'all about to kill me out here. So they finally picked me up off the ground. My dad and my parents, my family, they were seeing it. They saw the aftermath. Man, they said my head was this big around. My eyes was this shut. They beat the crap out of me. You know what I'm saying? But I was having a manic episode, right? When that happened. So I dealt with that. And long story short, I was hospitalized again for 2 more weeks, but they put me on some pretty decent meds this time. And those meds have definitely helped over the last 20 years that I'm taking. But I still deal with the major depression side of it. I still deal with the PTSD from that. And even more so, I have more recent PTSD activity because I got in a car accident back in last December, and my car flipped on the highway like 7 times.
Wow.
Like from one side of the highway to the next side of the highway. That was the scariest moment in my life. To this point, I still can't drive with all ease. You know what I mean?
Wow. Yeah.
So like the PTSD is like right here in my face every day now, along with the past PTSD, along with trying to manage the bipolar and manage depression. The depression, I don't really get mad no more, but I do find myself getting low sometimes. And I kind of got to bring myself out of it when I feel myself getting that way.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. That was quite a journey you went on. Like, I'm glad that they were able to find out what was going on in somebody. It sounds like you really had to cry out to get the help that you needed versus, obviously we're not taught to be able to say, hey, I think I need to see a therapist. I need to see a doctor. You did what you needed to do to be able to kind of get that. But depression, people sometimes don't understand that it can hit anybody. It can impact anybody. People probably look at you and be like, oh yeah, he probably don't have a care in the world. But then when they get to know your story, I've dealt with depression my entire life. Like, I feel like it probably started for me before 14. Cause again, I was raised by my grandmother, my great grandmother, and my aunt. And so I went through a lot of the abandonment and feeling rejected and not feeling loved. And those parts of life led me, to do what I do now. Like, I wanted to better understand how to help people. And so I'm glad that you got the support that you needed in order for you to be able to kind of balance everything. Because it's not easy to balance bipolar disorder. Like, that's a whole different type of disorder when it comes to the ups and downs of it. But it sounds like you've done a lot to keep yourself grounded.
I will say this too. Go back to your earlier question, like, what generational trauma are you still trying to battle with? Communicating with my wife has been hard. Not because of her. She's a very great communicator. She does a good job. It's because of me. You know what I'm saying? Because of the abandonment from my mother. You know what I'm saying? Because of the lack of communication me and my mother had. You know what I'm saying? I felt like she was the first person to break my heart. And it wasn't nothing intentional she did. She was sick. You know what I'm saying? So I don't blame her for it no more. But that still scarred me to the point of where a lot of that trauma rolled over into my marriage. You know what I'm saying? To the point I don't feel, sometimes in the past, I didn't feel comfortable with opening up my heart to my wife because I think she would, look at me different and whatnot. And she always proved me wrong. Every time I do open up, she's just as loving and caring as any wife would be with her husband. You know what I'm saying? It's just an insecurity that I have. Yeah. I'm still trying to break through on my side. You know what I'm saying? So I'm thankful for my wife, and she's definitely been my biggest cheerleader and supporter throughout the whole process over the last 20 years, 21 years. But she's patient with me. You know what I'm saying? Because she knows sometimes I'm just set in my ways, and I'll do things how I'm accustomed to do it. But I got to work through that because I not only I have a husband, but I got 3 daughters that's in the house looking at everything I do, watching how I treat them and their mother. So that's another reason. That's another one of my whys. I got to set the example. I can't teach them how to be women, but I can show them how a woman's so.
Yeah, gotcha. It can be hard to break out of that. I promise you. Like, I'm there with you on that too. The abandonment issues leads many people to an anxious attachment style, and really that usually is people in a place where you fear rejection. You fear that if I say the wrong thing, if I do the wrong thing, I'm going to be abandoned. And sometimes, for me, I'm just going to speak to me. Sometimes I end up saying things and pushing you away because I'd rather you leave because I did something versus you leaving because I'm just me. So I've kind of struggled with that. So you really got me over here like, okay, yeah, I'll do that for sure. We got therapy later on tonight too. So there's that. But anyway, shifting gears a little bit. I did want to know one other thing that really stood out to me from your book. And this was what you spoke on about leading without an ego. And a lot of men and women. I ain't gonna put it just on the men, but a lot of men do struggle with leading without their ego. What does leading with the ego actually look like? How does that look for you? And how can other men kind of adapt some of what you use in order for them to lead with ego, without ego versus leading with ego and pride?
Yeah, I mean, we're built on ego. We built on pride. I mean, God put it in us. We just got to learn how to use it the right way without
Okay.
abuse. You know what I'm saying? So like, I mean, my wife's super smart, you know, doctor, I'm not doctor, master, specialist, all that. You know, she knows what she's doing, and she handles herself well. And here I am, you know, 10th grade dropout, GED, and, you know, back felonies and all that stuff. You know what I'm saying? I had to pretty much understand, okay, she accepts you for you. You know what I'm saying? She saw all this potential. The person I am today, she saw this 20 years ago when I was nowhere near the same person. You know what I'm saying? But I had to learn that not to lead with ego, you know, because sometimes, I'm just speaking from my perspective as far as my household, it's sometimes I can imagine that some dudes, if they see a woman, they with a woman, and she got this kind of status in life, they kind of, the ego kicking, you know what I'm saying? So, and it kind of bothers them a little bit and they may express themselves in a certain way that's not necessarily the proper way to do that. You know what I'm saying? So, and everything, you know, even if I'm in a neighborhood and, you know, 10, 20, 25 years ago, somebody stepped in my shoe. Well, what you mean? You trying to hit because you clearly didn't say you my bad or nothing. You know what I'm saying? Whereas now, I don't care. You know, somebody stepped in my shoe. I don't care if you say my bad or not. It ain't killing me. It's just a shoe. So let me not let my ego get me in something that can put me back for a little while. You know what I'm saying? So it's all about having enough awareness, like a podcast, you know what I'm saying? Having enough self-awareness to know what I can potentially do to a person. But at the same time, like, hey, you got to think about consequences. Everything has a consequence, good and or bad. If I can potentially think about some bad consequences and be like, okay. I know we don't have time to think a lot of times when we're in the heat of moment, but it's always good. I train myself to think about quick consequences that let me know, let me just leave that alone, or, you know what I'm saying, go on my business. But that's not easy. It's something I had to train myself over years to be able to have enough self-control as a man. You know, as men, we have to have self-control because it's okay to have emotions, you know what I'm saying? Because we are human. We all have emotions, but we got to be able to control those emotions because just as fast as we can lose self-control, it can put us in a bad situation even faster. And sometimes those consequences last way longer than we would hope they do. So to not lead with ego for me means to just think before I act, think before I speak. Not let my pride get the best of whatever situation I may be in or even find myself in or even put myself in. I lead with respect. I lead with honor and value. You know what I'm saying? I just hope that I can attract that back to me with whomever I'm dealing with.
Yeah. Amazing. That we struggle with that ego. It ain't just a man thing. I will say that, but it can be a big struggle for a lot of people because I'm from LaGrange, Georgia. I don't know if you're familiar with LaGrange.
Yeah, I know LaGrange. My wife.
Your wife from LaGrange?
Nah, her people down there in Noonan.
Oh, okay. Not LaGrange. But
no, we go down to the lake. We go down to the lake down there and go swimming and fishing and stuff.
Gotcha. Yeah. So for LaGrange, growing up the way I grew up, in the hood, respect is everything. So to me, I don't do disrespect, and I have to catch myself as well when it comes to ego because who care in my 40s whether or not somebody said something crazy to me? It's not impacting my bills or my bottom line. So it doesn't matter. But the pride, that ego, that east side LaGrange in me, I'll be ready to fight. But I can't go to jail because then I don't have a career. So there's that. Yeah, for sure. So I want to shift gears a bit. And I want to know, how do you personally connect with the idea of being self-aware and fucked up?
I'm aware that I used to be really effed up. I'm aware of that. Okay. I'm aware of all my limitations, what I can and can't do, what my brain sometimes may want to do, but what my body may want to do. Sometimes my brain just won't let me get it together. Dealing with all the mental stuff I'm dealing with. I'm aware that I'm aware and I'm aware and I appreciate the fact that I was able to make it through those trials. Because those endurance builds, perseverance, that builds endurance. You know what I'm saying? So, and I could have got caught in the cycle. I could have got caught in the cycle. I could have got caught in the system. You know what I'm saying? I could have got caught in the world with a lot of stuff. And I'm aware of that. But I'm thankful that I didn't. You know what I'm saying? I'm thankful that I made it through that with the help of some great people, people who love me and got my best interests at heart. But I definitely am also aware I'm still a work in progress. I'm still trying to fix things from this for the last 30 plus years. I'm 39 this year and I'm still dealing with some of the stuff that happened when I was 9, 10, 13, 14 type stuff. And that's fine. I'm aware of that. I'm human. You know what I'm saying? Some things I'm probably going to do for the rest of my life. You know what I'm saying? It just is what it is. And I accept that. And just like, especially with the mental health part, like this is something I'm dealing with forever. You know what I'm saying? So let me learn how to deal with it the best way I can. And it's not going to be perfect. You know what I'm saying? It's not going to be perfect. Sometimes it's going to be ugly. Sometimes I'm going to cry. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes I'm going to want to punch a punching bag. It's just part of it. And I accept that. You know what I'm saying? And I'm thankful that I got a supportive cast around me, so to speak. I got a nice tribe. And I think that's very important because I didn't always have that tribe. I didn't have that tribe growing up. But like I said, I had people around me, but that wasn't my tribe to this extent, to where they know about my struggle. They know about my dark time. You know what I'm saying? And they really helped me out of that struggle and bring light around the situation. So I'm definitely aware of all of that. You know what I'm saying? Good, bad, and the ugly. And I just look forward to every day I wake up, man. I look forward to making a better day than yesterday. And I try not to turn bad moments into bad days, because bad days can turn into bad weeks, bad months. And next thing you know, you don't have a bad year. You know what I'm saying? But it's all about my mindset. I wake up, it's this acronym I came up with. It's called 4 P's to a Successful Day. And the P acronym stands for peaceful, positive, productive, prosperous. And how I break that down mentally every day when I wake up and say, hey, I'm big on affirmations too. So I'm in the mirror. Hey, man, you're going to have a positive day. You know what I'm saying? You're going to have a positive effect on somebody today. You're going to be a peaceable person today. You ain't going to let nobody get you throw it off. Self-control. So, you know what I'm saying? Get yourself control. But you're also going to be somebody else's peace. You know what I'm saying? You're also going to protect your peace. You know what I'm saying? Productive. You got to work hard. Whatever you got to do. What's on the to-do list? All right, let's make sure we do it. Let's get it done. At least try your best. You know what I'm saying? And the prosperous part, that ain't even got nothing to do with me. That got something to do with God. You know what I'm saying? So my goal is like not even prosperously materially, like just give me a prosperous life for the day. If I can go see with a peace of mind, I feel like I worked out well for the day.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So that's how aware I am of my effed up situation at times.
Gotcha. I love it. I love the 4 P's. And then you said 3 T's earlier related to your book. What were those 3 T's?
Yeah, 3 T's is trauma, transparency, and triumph.
Yeah, love that. You keep a good rhythm there with your consistency. And you reminded me to do my affirmations. I've been listening to Flipper T's affirmations every day to get me motivated. So I got to get back to that mirror moment though, because we need those sometimes. And sometimes I don't think we think about how, like, I think in the dark times, in the really bad times, I use those affirmations. I focus in on those things. But when things are, on autopilot, you can forget. So I think it's a good reminder to be consistent with things like that. For sure.
Be consistent. And sometimes when things are going good, we tend to get content.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like sometimes I find myself praying more when I really need something than when I really got it. You know what I'm saying? That's a flaw I'm working on. You know what I'm saying? Because like, shoot, Jehovah God blessed me with this for a reason. I got to show my gratitude and appreciation like I did when I needed it. You know what I'm saying? Because it can all be gone. You know what I'm saying? Whatever situation, it can all be gone. And I love affirmations. I'm a mentor on one of my old elementary schools. This so happened to be elementary school there. I was a mentee of one time. And one of the things I teach the boys is I say, hey man, the assignment for today, you already know. You got to write when you go home. From the time I see you again, I'm going to need you to have 5 to 10 affirmations, right? And I need you to read those affirmations when you wake up. Read them before you go to sleep. Think about them throughout the day and come back at it. And then you're going to have to stand up in front of the rest of the mentees and the mentors and read your affirmations. You know what I'm saying? And it really helps them speak life into themselves. That's what it do for me. I speak life to myself. I haven't always been this confident leader that you see before you. No, I was definitely dealing with a lot of self insecurities and feeling small in the big world. But those affirmations pretty much helped me to train my mind to speak life into myself when nobody else was. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah. That's dope. I already knew I was going to enjoy speaking with you because just hearing a little bit of your story when we did the event for the young boys. But truly amazing story, truly amazing testimony. I love to see Black men winning. I love to see Black people, but Black men, it overjoys me because I love seeing you give back, Ken give back, all those brothers y'all are connected with. So I really appreciate your time and you wanting to kind of be a part of this and share your journey. How can people connect with you? How can they purchase your books? How can they invite you to become a speaker at their event to inspire people? Like, how can they get in contact with you?
That's great, man. You can find me on social, Instagram at Red Inspires. Same thing on TikTok at Red Inspires. You can also purchase my book, Lost Boys to Men. It's right on Amazon. Just put Lost Boys, boys with a Z, kind of like the music group. You know what I'm saying? Lost Boys to Men. It's on Amazon. You can purchase it straight from Amazon. As far as my new book, my upcoming book, Dear Pain, Sincerely Me. It's coming out first quarter next year, but you can subscribe to my newsletter to get updates as far as all the different perks I got. It's some dope stuff we're doing with my newsletter. So, just to give a little sneak peek of it, we do monthly live read along virtual meetup. So I'll get on there and I'll read a story, read the poem that inspired it. And then we get right into those reflection questions. And the first session was so dope because it lasted 2 hours. I was surprised it lasted that long, but we had like 20 people on the call. Me reintroducing myself, reading the poem and the story is about 20 minutes tops. Mm-hmm. The other 140 minutes was conversation based off of those questions. The conversation was just flowing. So that's another perk you get from being a newsletter subscriber. So I can definitely get that link to you guys if I need to, how we can do it. But other than that, man, if you want to book me or talk to me a little bit more, you can email me redinspires1021@gmail.com.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for sharing that. Guys, please make sure that you connect with Red. He is so amazing. And I'm so grateful that he was able to bless us today. Please make sure that you connect with him. Also, be sure to follow me, Tree the LPC, on all social media platforms under the handle Tree the LPC. Until next time, be safe, be well, and make sure that you take care of your mental health.